Hello, everyone, and good evening, and welcome along to Betting Weekly Game Bet Match, the tennis betting podcast brought to you in association with Bet Rivers. I'm Nigel Seeley, and as per usual, on a Tuesday, we look ahead to the following day on Wednesday's action on the ATP Tour. And I'm delighted to say joining me is our senior ATP Tour handicapper, it's Sean Calvert, and we're looking ahead to round 2 in Canada. Sean, good evening to you.
Good evening.
Now, Sean, it's the school holidays here. And we always like to
Tell
hear
me
about
it.
Well, we always like to hear about your sort of your adventures during the school holidays.
Do you?
You've just told me you've just had a load of 8-year-olds back at the house screaming and shouting, driving you mad. That's why we're late recording today. No, we're not really, because I was at the dentist. But how's your day been? I don't know which one's worse. I think you would have taken me sitting and get your teeth drilled out rather than sitting with all the kids screaming and shouting.
I don't mind the dentist, actually. I've never had a problem with the dentist.
I have, but you have to the price of it now. That's the big problem I have.
Well, that would, as you know, that would probably pain me greatly. But the actual physical pain, I don't know. I think it's because I've hardly ever had anything done. My teeth are pretty good. Never had any problems with the dentist. Never had an issue with it at all. So, if you're asking me what would I rather have, an afternoon sat in a dentist chair or collecting 3 kids, only one of which was mine, from a football camp, bringing them back here, trying to look after them for like 2 hours before the various parents turned up, I'd go with the dentist, mate. Yeah.
Well, let me just put you off the dentist. I'm going to ask you a question, right? I have to have 2 fillings, one filling on the left-hand side, one filling on the upper side. And I have to have a clean, right? So 2 fillings and a clean. How much do you reckon?
2 fillings and a clean. Where you live?
2 fillings.
Probably about $1,000.
Well, not £640.
640, yeah, that's
£640. So don't eat sweets, kids. That's the memo from me.
Or get yourself a good NHS dentist.
This is an NHS dentist. You can have the black fillings, which you see they're free.
Oh, yeah.
You have to have the white ones, and you don't see them. £220 a filling.
Well, this is what we work hard for, isn't it? To get the money to afford these luxuries, so we don't have to have black fillings. We can have white ones if you want. You were surprised no one to learn that I actually went with the black one last time, because it was quite a few years ago, and it was right at the back of my mouth, so no one's ever going to see it anyway. So I just thought, whatever. Anyway,
well, it pains me. So the pressure is on you, Sean, to get some winners here for me today, because I need the money after the visit to the dentist today. So the pressure's the pressure's on every sort of appearance here, but the pressure's on some more. If you see in the top left-hand corner of the screen, we're 8.44 units up on this show. And we're looking to extend that in Toronto tomorrow. Before we go on to the selected matches that Sean has chosen to speak about for Wednesday, let's have a look at the conditions and look at the outright market. Obviously, Carlos Alcaraz is the tournament favourite here. He's still awaiting who his opponent's going to be. We'll know a little bit later. Will it be Ben Shelton or Sebastian Morales? Daniil Medvedev, our pick, it hasn't played yet. Obviously, he's got to buy through to the second round. But what you've seen from the opening day's play and the 2 days play now, what are the conditions like? And, has anyone stood out, impressed you or anything like that?
Well, it seems a bit slower than it was last time here in 2021. The statistics, there's only stats for 7 matches, but it's down 77% holds, 71% first serve points won. That's only from only 7 matches. So it's a very small sample size, but it does seem slow. But I think a lot of that is because of the weather, because it's been damp, it's been overcast. There's a lot of moisture in the air, makes the balls a bit heavier. They are using those Wilson US Open balls as I thought they probably would do. And obviously with these tournaments as well, they relay the courts every year, because a lot of these venues are used for other things throughout the year. So every time they relay the court, it could be slightly different. The tournament could have said, can you make it a bit slower? Can you make it a bit quicker? We're not party to that information. And we don't really see it until we see it, sort of thing. I think this surface for this tournament is made out of recycled tennis balls from the previous tournament, which I think they've done before at certain tournaments in the US Open Series. So that's no great surprise. I think we're going to see it quicken up, though, because the weather has been, as I said, pretty sort of hit and miss, hasn't it? Quite not warm by any means in Toronto, but tomorrow it's supposed to be warm, about 26 and sunny all day. So if it continues to be sunny, I think we'll see it quicken up. But it's slightly slower at the minute than the last time it was played here.
Yeah, so we're going to look at some matches tomorrow. We expect the conditions to be a little bit quicker, and that will suit the first match. Herbert Hurkacz, the big server, former finalist here. He's up against Mimur Kekmanovic. you never really know what Kekmanovic turns up for me. I think he's too methodical, he's too mechanical, and I just never trust him to bet with. But we'll see what happens tomorrow. Herbert Hurkacz is the heavy favourite here. He's minus 295. Kekmanovic is the dog at plus 225. They've met once before. Hurkacz won that. But that was
one, didn't he?
Sorry, I know what I said. I thought he won it, and I left the screen. I swept the screen off because I was trying to find the Bet Rivers website. Kekmanovic won it in 2019, as Sean said there. He won in 3 close sets or closest sets, and the overs would have come in on there. And I was looking, Sean, before you correctly interrupted me to find out what the overs were. This time, no, it's fine. You correct. It was a mistake. 22.5 is the over here with Bet Rivers on the total. It's minus 106. The under is minus 121. The spread is 3.5 for Kekmanovic. The play starts at 11 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow. The order of play isn't announced yet, but we will know that a little bit later on this afternoon. To check the Bet Rivers website out on that. And when you do head to the Bet Rivers website, you will see they have 29 different markets on this match, and Sean Calvert has a bet for us on one of those markets. What do you like here, Sean?
I like the overs. It's it's a play that I've mentioned a few times with Hurkacz. There's a lot of evidence here to suggest this is value. If you look at Hurkacz against top 50 ranked opponents in best of 3-set matches in the last 12 months, over 22.5 has cashed 23 times in 30 matches. That's a huge 77% of the time, which equates to odds of about 1.3-ish. In decimal, but we're getting 1.83 about over 22.5 games. So on that massive value, over 2.5 sets, again, those same 30 matches against top 50 opponents, that's cashed 19 times in 30 matches over 2.5 sets. Tiebreak played, if you want that market, that would have cashed 21 times in 30 matches. So all these markets offer value for me because it's a running theme, isn't it, with Hurkacz? He still can't break serve often enough. Last week, he showed decent level actually at Wimbledon, didn't he? And he played Djokovic. Should have won at least one, probably 2 actually, those sets against Djokovic, but let himself down on the big points. It just seems to me like it's a running theme. He lost to Michael Moe last week, Washington DC. Just isn't able to put sets away. It's incredible, his record that he has of going over the games and over the sets, and in a match which should be from the baseline pretty close. Kekmanovic is arguably at least Hurkacz's equal off the base. Off the baseline, it's the serve. Perhaps you would certainly give Hurkacz a decent advantage, but I'm happy to take over 22.5 games at 1.83, given the evidence that I've dug up here.
Yep, over minus 121 with Bet Rivers. Sean alluded to the tie breaks. They're all on there. Total sets over 2.5 plus 145 may come into the reckoning. At least one set to have a tie break. Let me find the price on that. Over half a tie break is minus 103.
Yeah, so, 1.97, wasn't it? Yeah.
All those markets may tempt you. So we're looking at overs in changing conditions we expect tomorrow in Toronto, and changing fortunes in the last few weeks is what's happened for Stefanos Tsistipas, a man who didn't show anything going into Wimbledon. And last week he played absolutely brilliant to win Los Cabos in Mexico. It's a real mouth-watering match he has tomorrow up against Gael Monfils. Gael Monfils obviously did us a favour against Christopher Eubanks when we bet him there at a very nice price, and he done the business for us on Monday. But he's got a tough match here against Tsitsipas. Gael Monfils is available at plus 250. Stefanos Tsistipas is minus 335. The spread here is 3.5. Tsitsipas giving up 3.5 is minus 130. And the total is 22.5. We've said many times when we spoke about Gael Monfils that he raises his game on the big stage. And this is the biggest match of the day tomorrow, I would have thought. It'd be on a show court. 2 showmen up against each other. This should be a really good watch here. Are we keeping faith with Gael Monfils, or are we sort of deserting him here? I think I probably know, because I know you're pretty anti Tsitsipas, and I know you've got a soft spot for Gael Monfils. So I'm pretty guessing where we're going. But what are we doing here, Sean?
I don't know if I've got a soft spot for him. I do enjoy watching him play. Actually, I will say that. Not many underdogs win in round 2. Just as a side point, actually, historically, 26% in round 2 compared to 42% in round 1. So it's something to bear in mind. I'm not going to go for Monfils to win, but I'm going to take the overs. Tsitsipas in 2023 at main level on outdoor hard. Great record, 14-3 win-loss and a 107 service points won, return points won total. Excellent stats. But if you look at the matches against top 50 ranked opponents on outdoor hard, he's only won 2 of his last 10 matches in straight sets. And those were the 2 that were in Los Cabos in the slow conditions that he enjoys against an opponent he's absolutely dominated in Alex de Minaur and also Borna Coric. So these stats are a little bit misleading for me. Against Monfils, Tsitsipas against Monfils, they've not played since 2019, but it's worth looking at the head-to-head series. In terms of service points won, return points won totals, it's actually Monfils that leads 102.5 compared to 97.5 for Tsitsipas. So a decent lead for Monfils there, although obviously it's 4 or 5 years down the line. So, you can add the decline for Monfils in there. They played 4 tiebreak sets in 8 sets that they've played. So it's been a close career series, as I say, not met since 2019. It's a difficult one. This Tsitsipas' first match coming back from Los Cabos, very, very different conditions. It was very, very hot there, very humid, a slow, a hard court. Now he's coming into very different conditions here in Canada. And Tsitsipas has played a tiebreak in 9 of his 12 career matches at the Canada Masters. And some of those have been at Montreal, where it's usually a little bit slower. So, and obviously Monfils has had that match under his belt as well, which incidentally he tried to give me a bit of stress in that, didn't he? He was a set and 5-3 up Monfils, served for the match, failed, 4-1 up in the ensuing tiebreak, failed with that as well. And I was thinking, oh, seriously? But he managed to pull himself together in the third set. So he's had that match under his belt, 3 decent sets against a good opponent in Chris Eubank. So I'm happy to take the overs in this one as well. Over 22.5, again, 1.97. That's minus 103 with Bet Rivers.
It's actually gone up a little bit. The over 22.5 now is plus 102 with Bet Rivers.
Oh, even better.
It's plus money. So head quick. Get over and get that plus 102 now before it disappears. But plus 102 is the price now for over 22.5. Stefanos Tsitsipas, Gael Monfils. Remember, if you do have a wager on that match, you'll be able to live stream the match on the BetRivers website, on your tablet, on your mobile phone. And that applies to any one of the matches that you do choose to have a bet on the website for tomorrow's order of play. The next match, again, this one here looks an over. So if you're looking at the recent record between the two of them, it's Tommy Paul up against Francisco Cerundolo. Tommy Paul, the American, is minus 167 against the Argentinian Cerundolo, who's plus 133. The spread is 2.5. Tommy Paul giving up 2.5 is minus 107. The total here over, again, 22.5 minus 108. Under 22.5 is minus 118. They've met 3 times before, twice this year and twice in this summer, earlier in June. They met at Eastbourne. All 3 of the matches have been on grass courts. Eastbourne in Cerundolo won 2-1 in the final set, 6-4, where the total games come in at 27. They met at Queen's Club the week before, where the total games come in at 33. Again, Cerundolo won. And at Eastbourne again in 2022, Tommy Paul come in a match again, best of 3 sets, when it come in at 33. So overs is cashed in all 3 of those matches. Very different conditions. Obviously, Eastbourne and Queens are a lot faster than the conditions you'll find in Toronto. But that must be a good sign for any overs bettors. Are we making it a clean sweep of overs here, Sean?
I'm not having an official play in this one, but I am expecting it to be a reasonably tight encounter, yeah. As you said, they met 3 times on grass in the last 12 months or so, all getting to a deciding set. The last one was particularly annoying to me because I had Tommy Paul to win the tournament, and he had to play twice in the same day because of the rain in Eastbourne. Andy got injured in that final as well. Andy scored more points in that match and was ahead on all the stats and still lost. So the head-to-head of the 3 grass court meetings, although Cerundolo's won 2 of them, I think, didn't he? It's Paul that actually leads in terms of service points won and return points won totals. Paul on 102, Cerundolo on 98. So Cerundolo's certainly ridden his luck in a couple of those matches there. He's actually only won 40% of his second serve points in this head-to-head, Cerundolo. Paul's won 50%. So it's unfortunate for Tommy Paul to have lost a couple of those matches. If you look at just the outdoor hard main level statistics for this season, again, it's Tommy Paul that's ahead in terms of the totals. Paul's on 105, Cerundolo on 102. So I think this is time for Tommy Paul to get a little more of what is deserved in this matchup. But I think it will be a tough one because Cerundolo, when he lights it up with that forehand, he's a tough guy to beat. So I think the 2-1 to Tommy Paul here will be a slight lean for me at 3.8 plus 280. That was earlier on with Bet Rivers.
And that's still the price now, plus 180. Well, it's plus 280 with Bet Rivers on the 2-1 for Tommy Paul. You can also bet the over to make it a clean sweep of overs, mate. I wouldn't even put anybody off a little parlay on the overs on the three of those. Hurkacz, Tsitsipas, and Tommy Paul on the overs. The next match, could be another over. And this is a real intriguing game, a very interesting match. It's an all-Italian affair between Matteo Berrettini and Jannik Sinner. Amazingly, the two of them never played before on the ATP Tour when you consider that they're fellow countrymen and you would have played in a lot of tennis growing up, but they've never played on the main tour. We spoke about Berrettini in round one, Sean, and you said that you weren't convinced by his fitness. His record at Wimbledon, I thought it was exceptional at Wimbledon when he reached the last 16 where he lost to Alcaraz, but in the first set, he was going toe-to-toe with the Wimbledon champion and the world number one. He played really well against Berrer. I think Berrer probably had a bit of a bad day, not his high levels that you would expect from the Frenchman. But he did win really well, Berrettini. Are you sort of thinking now that he is a little bit back to match fitness, or you think there's still a long way to go? Because if he is up to match fitness and these conditions are going to be a lot quicker tomorrow, he's got a real chance here against Jannik Sinner, who hasn't played since Wimbledon, his first match since losing to Djokovic in that semi-final where he gave away so many opportunities to take at least a set, again, to our disappointment in that semi-final.
Yeah. That was another painful one, wasn't it? Sinner should easily have taken a set there, the chances that he had. Yeah, Berrer just didn't serve. He served appallingly. I think he was at 44% first serves in. Berrer he didn't give himself a slight chance at all, did he? Serving at 44%. You've got no chance certainly no chance of beating Berrettini, but my overs was really scuppered by the fact that he just couldn't buy a first serve. I think if he'd have made another 10%, ideally 15% first serves, we would have seen that overs cash. But, what can you do if a guy serves at 44%? This is a really intriguing one. I've put this in here because I think it's the match that a lot of people will want to watch. It's a hard one to bet on because, as you said, Sinner's not played since Wimbledon. His best level, that level that you'll remember very well from Miami, that level would obviously win this match. That level would be pretty much anybody on the tour, I think. But I think it's asking a lot for him to produce it coming straight from Wimbledon, although that's what obviously Berrettini did in the first round against Berrer, but this is a very different match. It's not ideal, is it? Coming from a layoff and then playing somebody as powerful as Berrettini. In terms of the statistics, I've looked at the sort of longer term stats on this because obviously Berrettini's had a few injury problems. But the last 50 matches each on outdoor hard, Berrettini 62% win rate and a service points won, return points won total of 103. It's okay, not good, but not fabulous. Sinner 76% win rate and his total is 106, so quite a clear advantage for Sinner. But I think if you are having a bet on this, given the conditions are going to be a little bit quicker tomorrow and the fact that Sinner is potentially a little bit rusty, the ball should fly around a lot, giving Berrettini's sort of first serve and forehand combination a bit of a boost. I would probably be tempted with the set one over 10.5 games, which earlier on was 2.75 plus 175 a Bet Rivers. But it's a tricky one to bet, not knowing how Sinner's going to be.
Yeah, total games over 10.5 is currently plus 175. Sinner is minus $2 on the money line. Matteo Berrettini plus 155. The total games here, one higher than the match we've spoken about earlier. At 23 is the total. Over is even money. A whole host of different bets available on the website. And the spread here is, let me just get it, Berrettini is a 2.5 dog. So minus 113 for Berrettini, minus 112 for Sinner. You can get Berrettini plus 2.5. I quite like the 2.5 start for Berrettini, given his serve. If he serves well, chances are he goes to a tiebreak. If he go overs, he could lose a set or win a set 7-6. So not really. I've said this to you before. My strategy a lot of time with big servers is to bet them with like them on the handicap plus 2.5 or plus 3.5. When if they do lose a set, there's a good chance it'll be a tiebreak. So I quite like Berrettini plus 2.5 here. I think I'm still clinging on to my 50-1 US Open voucher. I've got Sebastian Korda at 66-1 as well, which I've sort of given up, but good performance yesterday. So
of course he had a good performance yesterday. I didn't back him, did I? Outright for a change. What did he say? 74% first serves in today, Korda. He got something like, 48% against Shevchenko last week. I mean, What can you do?
Can you see a common theme here, Sean? Whenever you sort of bet someone, is it like
they decide they're going to have a bad serving day? Yeah, Humbert, another one today, of course, decided to come out in his first match against Jarry and hit 2 double faults, a few unforced errors, and donate his serve away.
You always remember the losing ones. You always, everybody remembers the losing ones and the bad beats. You never remember the ones that are easy and routine you pick up. You just take them for granted. So we're still in front, 8.4 units on the year. The US Open to come, Cincinnati next week. I'm no pressure on you, Sean, but I expect at least 50 units by the end of the year. Anyway, let's move on to the final. Let's move on to the final match of the day that we're going to talk about. And this is another interesting one after the events of what happened last night. Milos Raonic making his comeback on the ATP Tour. Obviously, he played a couple of tournaments previous to this, but he's back in his homeland. He's going to be his last ever probably Canadian Open in his last season. So he really wants to go out on a high. He's got the huge crowd behind him, and he came through an epic match last night against Francis Tiafoe. In the first set was an incredible situation where Tiafoe hit the net and Raonic smashed his racket up with the discussion brought on the referee. It was quite bizarre. But on the tennis front here, Raonic at his age, with his recent injury concerns and on the comeback trail, to come through that kind of match and then play an opponent like Tara Daniel, you'd probably be happy to play Tara Daniel, but it's going to be a lot on him. And I think it'll be quite brave to take the minus 167 on Milos Raonic here. They have met twice before. Raonic won them both, but they're totally not worth even looking at. One of them was in 2014 and the other one was 2018. Tara Daniel was plus 135 here. I haven't got enough about me to bet Tara Daniel out plus 135. The spread here is 2.5, minus 130. Daniel receiving the start. And the total, again, is a high one, 23.5, as you would expect with Milos Raonic. Serving stats that he has, and the fact that he's got the home support behind him, and the fact that he's playing for them and for himself in what was going to be could potentially be his last ever match in Canada. What do we do here, Raonic? Do we just fade him automatically after that match, or do we think that he might have one last hurrah or his body gets him through? But can we trust Daniel? That's the other question.
Yeah, it's a tricky one, this, isn't it? I put this one in because I think it's quite interesting. I am quite tempted to back Taro Daniel just on the basis of fitness, really. If you think the last time Milos Raonic won back-to-back matches was in March 2021. So that's best part of 2.5 years ago. He's not won back-to-back matches since then. No, he certainly hasn't played much since then, but that's the last time he won 2 matches consecutively, Milos Raonic. So, and he did have the trainer out, didn't he, against Tiafoe again. I think it was a lower back issue, if I remember rightly. So he really is at the end of his career. Raonic, unfortunately, injuries have just they've just put paid to his career, which is a shame. But that's the situation that he finds himself in. I took a look at Taro Daniel's record against big servers. It's not great. It's 4 wins and 10 losses against big servers, but he did beat Matteo Berrettini in slow conditions at Indian Wells earlier on this season. I presume this is going to be a night match. I can't imagine they're just going to bung it on at 2:00 in the afternoon with it being Milos Raonic. I assume it's going to be a night match. If that's the case, then obviously it'll be a little bit slower, which would favour Taro Daniel. He would enjoy those conditions. And in those 14 matches against big servers, Daniel's only broken serve 10% of the time. So he has struggled in his career against big servers. But the question, as you said, is what is Milos Raonic going to bring to this court? Because we've seen him in this little mini comeback that he's had this year. He started out well pretty much all the time, hasn't he? He beat it was Kekmanovic, wasn't it, in the first match that he played for 2 years? He beat Kekmanovic, and then he come back and he couldn't replicate it against Jordan Thompson. He was nowhere near, struggling again. Again at Wimbledon, he got a bit lucky, beat Denis Novak, who should have done better, incidentally, in the first match, and then he couldn't really do anything against Tommy Paul. So, do you trust Raonic's fitness? If you do, if you think he's gonna be able to get through this match, then he should win it. But I certainly wouldn't back him at minus money on on the state of his body these days. I'm tempted to back Daniel, but as I say, I'm not completely convinced enough to push the button. It's just more of a lean, really.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you here. Raonic, obviously, after that epic match against Tiafoe, 2 massively long tie breaks and then winning in the final set. at 32 years of age, all those back problems. But the thing is, if he was playing any other opponent in the whole draw, I think I would probably bet them. But Taro Daniel, I'm not so sure. But
doesn't inspire confidence a lot of the time, does he? But he's got a lot of big wins, Taro Daniel, but they're normally surrounded by lots of really poor losses. So you never really know what he's going to do. As I say, beat Berrettini at Indian Wells, but obviously it's slower there. It's a lean. I don't think I could actually bet it. Not with your dental money at stake, anyway.
Oh no, I wouldn't risk half a filling on the Taro Daniel. But the other thing as well is obviously you got to look around for obviously be careful of a retirement here. The rules obviously Bet Rivers. You look check the rules on that to make sure if there's retirement. There's a good chance that Raonic may retire from this match. Anyway, that's it. That is Wednesday's matches all looked at. 5 matches we have for you on Wednesday. Remember to head to the Bet Rivers website to have a look on them. There'll be the outright markets there as well. Carlos Alcaraz will be leading the market. Can he win the Canadian Open for the Rogers Cup Canadian Masters anymore? Canadian Open.
It's the National Bank Open presented by Rogers now.
Yeah, I know. But what do we call?
I would call it the Canada Masters generally. I would call it the Canada Masters. Yeah.
The Canada Masters. Can he win it for the first time? He is the favourite. He's plus 140 to do so with Bet Rivers before the ball was served. I'd expect the money to come for the Spaniard. Daniel Medvedev is our pick. He's in action as well a little bit later on in the week, and also Alexander Zverev, my pick as well. So lots of tennis to come up. And there's also lots of fantastic content available now on the YouTube channel, which is Betting Weekly Studios at Because We Win. We have Noni, myself, and Sean breaking down the ATP Tour events each week. We now have the European Soccer League starting this weekend. The action really does hot up. It's La Liga starts this week. Ligue 1 starts in France, and also the English Premier League. And we have a future show on all those leagues available now. If you subscribe to the YouTube channel, you'll be able to watch that, and you'll get an alert every time anything drops. And also, this weekend is the start of the fixtures as well. So on Thursday, there will be a Premier League Week 1 match preview. Myself, Jack Wright, and Dan Roebuck. And also the European guys involved Steve Vish, James Eastham, and Rory Barlow will be looking ahead to the best bets in La Liga and Ligue 1 as well. So lots of fantastic content on the YouTube channel, and we need you to subscribe. But you can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Because We Win. And please give us a rate and review on our podcast, on your preferred podcast provider. You can download Betting Weekly Game Bet Match. And we'd like to hear your feedback on anything you have and any questions you have there for Sean or myself. Please leave us some notes on there, and we'll be able to answer anything you may have. Sean, enjoy the rest of the year. Get some sleep. What's the time now? 8:30. You'll probably stay in the shed for about another 20 minutes until they'll go to sleep, and you get a little message, like the light flicks on twice to say you're safe to come in now.
No, they're going to be asleep now, no problem.
You result. So you can go back, feet up, watch a bit of the tennis, cash some tickets in play, head to the Bet Rivers website and make some money, and end what's been a bit of a stressful day in style.
Yeah, it's all back tomorrow, though, for another one.
Yep, we're back tomorrow, looking ahead to Thursday's action as well. So remember the new change of schedule. Myself and Sean, Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Rory will be back looking at the women's events at the US Open in a couple of weeks' time. So ATP Tour now, Sunday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Before we go, Sean, we've always been asked, we always get asked to do a little recap of the bet. So just give us a recap of your official picks for tomorrow.
Yeah, over 22.5 games. In the match between Maimir Kekmanovic and Hubert Hurkacz. That's around about 1.83 chance for Bet Rivers. And the similar bet, over 22.5 games in Tsitsipas against Monfils, which you said was now 2.02. Plus 102.
Now plus 102.
Bet Rivers.
So head there quickly. I'm sure those lines will change. Enjoy your evening. We'll be back again tomorrow. Take care, everyone, and stay safe.